Hi. Around the time of Prince Harry's court case, I made a video that sort of went a little bit against the tide. It was called Villains Aren't Always Villains and Heroes Aren't Always Heroes. And I was swimming against the tide at the time because I could feel why the victims of the hacking inquiry actually were bringing a lot of these suits against the tabloid newspapers, because there was a perception that the Leveson inquiry had only been half completed, that there were nefarious actors out there that hadn't really paid their price for the criminal activities that went on. And for whatever reason, and I guess we'll never know, Leveson 2 never went ahead. But I made that video because I wanted to make that point, that there was a side of the court case that was valid, that there were real people that had been hurt that were bringing their case to court to see if they could bring any of these people to further justice, or even just to justice if they hadn't received any yet. And I did it because I thought it was fair. I also made a point at the time, which I was a little frightened to make the point, because a lot of the people that follow my channel are actually huge fans of Dan Wootton of GB News. And I made a point in that video that I found it very hard to believe that Dan didn't know about the nefarious activities that were going on in the news of the world at the time. I said, what, his showbiz desk was what, on a different floor of the building? Or that he was actually placed in another part of London, in another building, and that's why he didn't know what was going on? But then I did say that maybe he had been kept deliberately innocent so that they had a clean face at the front of showbiz news. So that was that. But I always suspected that there was a little bit more going on, as I suspect quite a few people that are very popular, particularly in the conservative media, might have known a little more of what was going on. Now that's unfortunate because we tend to like or dislike people depending on our politics. If shows and presenters are telling us what we want to hear and they're spinning the narrative that we can agree with, well then we tend to like them. And if we tend to like people, well then we judge them and we judge their character, even though we have no way of really knowing them at all. And that's what the unfortunate thing is with all the scandals that have happened with TV presenters over the last month or so, the morning show program guy and the BBC guy, and now Dan at GB News. Our opinion of whether the accusations are justified or not is guided either by our political affiliations, which when you think about it is ridiculous, or whether we actually like the person or not, which again is ridiculous. So I think we just have to really be wary of dividing into these tribes and judging things based on those political opinions, because it actually sways our thinking. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. The other thing I find interesting is that there's a pretty much a vigilante attitude on social media where pretty much in all three cases, everyone was deemed guilty before they'd even been criminally charged with anything. And I think we need to wait for that. I am of the opinion that criminal charges are when it becomes a story. If the police investigate something and deem a crime has taken place, well, then I think it's a story. And I think you have every right to talk about it and discuss it. And then if it goes to trial and a verdict is found, well, then if they're found to be guilty, well, they deserve everything they get. But it is a lesson that we are increasingly excusing behaviour, even really nefarious behaviour, because we're choosing sides. And like I said in my original video, sometimes the villains aren't the villains, and sometimes the heroes aren't the heroes. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.